Viral with a TED Talk isn't about chasing trends. It's just about clarity. The real question is whether your content actually represents who you are and the value you bring to the marketplace. See, on today's show, we're breaking down how to create a cornerstone speaking asset that won't just be another piece of content that disappears, but one that becomes the foundation for your brand and your marketing. And we've got an international award winning keynote speaker and brand consultant whose specialty is bridging the gap between powerful stage presence and results driven marketing. You ready? Let's go. Today's guest, Tyler Cerny, is an international award-winning keynote speaker, presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship, and the top 500 most watched TEDx talks of all times. He has it with 3 million plus views on how to find your life's purpose. I'm going to let him take it from here because it'll do a better job than I will telling you his journey. So, Tyler, the floor is yours. Tell us how we got to today.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you for being here. Super grateful. Well, first of all, the Lord has blessed me in a lot of different ways, and so the Lord always gets credit for that. But in terms of the story, I grew up in Cleveland, and I tell people in the Midwest, you either play sports or you get in trouble. And I did a little bit of both, but sports is what really kept me on track. But I also even remember when I was playing sports, playing football, playing basketball, baseball in the backyard, playing make-believe with my brother. I would speak and present to imaginary audiences, even at a young age. And so I always knew I was called to speak. And then as I got older, I realized that I sounded different than other kids, that I actually had a speech impediment. And so this was one of my first moments of adversity as a little boy, really asking myself, why do I sound different? Why am I different? Why can't I sound like everyone else? And, why do I have to go meet with a teacher after school to talk about speech therapy? Well, little did I know that the Lord was preparing my path to give me a private one-on-one speaking coach, even in the third grade, to prepare me to then, what we do now, which is speak all over the world and help other people do the same. And so, we can get into more of the story, but essentially that led me to wanting to practice the craft. One of the stats that I found, and you'll love this, Rob, too, is, the number one fear people have is public speaking. Number two is death. And I've actually given eulogies for my grandparents, and I've even had pastors come up to me and say, hey, are you a speaker when giving these eulogies? And it's one of those things where I saw that stat where a lot of people are scared to public speak, and they rather be in the casket than give the eulogy, that if I could overcome that fear, I can do anything. And so that would really put me on a path, too, to want to understand communication, branding, business. And then, even in my young business days, when I first started my first couple companies in college, I remember going to networking events and all my friends were scared because they're like, we don't know who we're going to meet. We're going to meet all these strangers. And I'm like, dude, we get to meet all these strangers and have conversations and talk business and build relationship. Like I knew I love connecting with people. I love communicating. So just continue to practice my craft and joining groups like Toastmasters to, do 30-second pitches to, 5 to 7 minute prepared talks to then eventually giving the TEDx talk that went viral. So it was one of those things that over a period of time and practice and accumulation of experience, it prepared me for that specific moment. And that's usually what happens when you have that cornerstone asset for your brand, is that all the things that you've done leading up to that point have prepared you to be the person you need to be to deliver the talk that you need to deliver in that.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. I will tell you, you learn this comes with a little bit of age, but you really learn that no matter what twist or turn you've gone on, and we've all been in that place with a job or whatever, we thought, how is this contributing in any way to where I'm going? And it's actually usually that little turn that contributes much more than you thought. Not a little bit, but a lot. I came out and sold life insurance I was a life
Mm.
health disability guy and I was good at it, but I remember just sitting in the corner going, how in the world is this going to contribute? And when I stepped into professional speaking and I was a Xerox copier jock, I worked for Xerox. The reason why my career took off was because they said, we love the fact you came from Xerox, but we also love the fact you got a financial background here a little bit. We're going to move you into the financial industry. And for almost 30 years, that's really where I did most of my speaking because I had that unusual pedigree of selling copiers and insurance. But at the time, Tyler, I thought I was despondent, just thinking, I'm not going anywhere. We are. Okay. I hear this term viral all the time. I get into it with my kids because I got a comedian, I got a social media person on the other side, and these numbers. Is there actually, I'm guessing it shifts, is there currently a number of downloads that defines itself as viral? For instance, if I said I got 100,000 hits on my podcast, it went viral. I don't think it did. I think I'm misusing the word. I don't think 100,000 qualifies anymore. Is there a number, Tyler, that you're aware of?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question. I mean, it really depends on what platform you're looking at. Because if you look at any platform, if you look at YouTube, your podcast platforms, any download platform, like what does viral mean? I mean, that's a very important question. I mean, for me, in if you look at the asset or the content compared to the other pieces of content in that period of time, if it's outperformed in it and it's in the top 1 percentile, then I would consider that to be and that's where it can vary and depend on what type of timeline are we looking at, because that's where a lot of videos can have the opportunity to go viral, because some videos, you have all this engagement for, let's say, 24 hours, and then, like, it's that one hit wonder type, right?
Yeah.
So viral is something that, in my opinion, outperforms the market in a specific time period, let's say in the top 1 percentile, all the other pieces of content out there. And that's going to give you a pretty good foundation to what's viral. And, in YouTube, if you do a talk that does, over 100,000 views, that's a lot of people that see it. And if it's in a relatively short period of time, I would consider that viral as well. But again, social media nowadays,
Yeah.
it's with AI now creating all this content and things like that, they even say AI, social media may be, out of business in the next 12 to 24 months, just because if you have 24/7 bots creating 24/7 content that's interacting with all the other bots and engagement, it's going to basically saturate the internet with AI content. And then it's like that content's going to outweigh all the original content that was ever made. And then it's going to be like, well, do people still want to spend their time on, right? And who knows, maybe Gen Z or Gen Alphas who spend most of their time on screen say, you know what, we want something different and we don't want this social media as well. So again, looking at these trends and looking at what's viral, at the end of the day, Rob, one of the things that I learned through business is building successful relationships, both personally and professionally. And people don't remember what you say or who you are. They remember how you make them feel. What's the emotions that you elicit? Because if you come with a serving heart, willing to serve and solve problems for people, they're going to be like, man, this dude knows my problem better than I do. And he actually knows the solution better than I do. I want to work with that individual, right? And so it's all about building the connection and really, shooting for virality, because virality also showcases there's a lot of different strategies and techniques to do that. But at the end of the day, because I had this conversation the other day with some guy was like, I really don't care about a lot of views. Well, what I really care about is building meaningful connection. And if we can do meaningful connection at scale, and we can get your talk in front of more people so it can impact their lives and their families and their close friends and their loved ones, like, do you have a message that's able to do that? And that's another thing. It's like, do we have a message that's so specific on solving a problem that people are going to want to share it and it's going to leave an impact? And, or is it just fluff? Are we just talking motivation, rah, rah, where, let's feel good for 30 seconds or 30 minutes and then go back home and not implement anything? What are some tactical strategies that we can take home right after we listen to you speak to then, make some improvements in our life? If you can do that, you're going to stand out. Because
Right.
most people, they struggle to do that piece.
Yeah, I think we should rename it. I think we're trying to stand out. I'm trying to pin you down to a number, and you're saying to me, throw out some numbers if you want, Rob, but we want to stand out in our particular area. Uh, I think it was you. I was you're kind of following you a little bit, and you're kind of climbing into one of my questions here because I think you believe, and you tell me if I've got this wrong, that clarity matters more than going viral or chasing, the trends. Uh,
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
because clarity is power and clarity is conviction. If I'm crystal clear on who I am as a person and what I'm going to speak about and why I'm going to speak on it, I'm going to come across with conviction, right? Am I just going up on stage just to say things that come from my heart? And I know speakers that are like that. And that might be their style, and you have to find what works best for you because every speaker is different as well. There's no one strategy fits all type of thing. But you have to come with confidence and clarity and conviction because that transfers over to the audience, right? And,
yeah,
and that's with anything in life, like, not to get sidetracked with the conversation with my wife, but my wife and I, we met and we got married in a very short time period. And why was that? Because there's high levels of conviction on both sides. And we get that, like I said, through faith and through knowing our life's purpose. And again, it's like when you go to the gas pump, you know with confidence and clarity which gas type you're going to click, and you know exactly where to put it in. You're going to pump that thing because you pumped it so many times. It's like you going to make a sandwich, whatever the case may be. You've done it so many times. You have a level of conviction. You don't have to wonder or ask what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen. And so, and here's the thing: they're going to like the sandwich or not. People are either going to align with what you say, or there's people that aren't going to align with. And and that's another piece. I'm not called to serve the same people that you're called to serve, and vice versa. And we all are called to serve a different group of people to our own level because that includes our story, our geographical location, our family, like all the things that have made us the people that we are today. That has designed us to serve a certain group of individuals to solve certain problems. Because, the most important question someone can ask is who? Like, who am I? Um, who is God? Who is this talk serving? Who is this business serving? Like getting crystal clear on who is going to showcase what you need to deliver, who you need to become, who you're actually serving in the process. Who is such a powerful question, and it goes back down to that. And that's why we have a lot of success with helping develop brands because if we can get crystal clear on a brand that has a specific vision, where do they want to go? Go to. Right now 2026 is the 250th anniversary, this July 4th, 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Like, how cool is that, right?
very
And
cool.
so I have a client he's politically involved. And so looking at, okay, well, what's the actual goal in the next 4 months here before July 4th? And so what does success look like? What does that achieve? So also having that end in mind. So whether it's a viral video, a viral TEDx talk, or having a successful campaign, whatever that looks like, what does success look like for you? Because here's the thing, you may not need to go viral. You may only need like 5,000 views. If let's say if you work with large enterprises and let's say if you get 1 or 2 new clients a year, you are extremely happy. Well, maybe we don't need to market to that many people. Then we just need to be very strategic and personalized and precise with who we reach out to. Or if you're have a business that serves a lot of people or that have the bandwidth that can serve a lot of people, maybe like an e-commerce business or something like that, then now it makes sense to expand your reach. Or let's say you have an online business, you have you have teams and product and fulfillment in place. Now you're in a position to scale. That's when looking at, okay, what type of content should I be creating? And that's where social media, a TEDx talk, running an email campaign, LinkedIn, doing podcasts like this. There's so many different ways a business owner can grow their business. It's just getting clear with, what's the vision? What's the end goal? What are my resources and how can I be a steward and deploy these resources to the best of my ability on pace and in alignment with this goal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
What's
yeah,
the purpose of this campaign?
yeah.
And
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's I think it starts way back when in that answer of yours. You were onto a piece that really touched me because when I mentor an author, And people want to write a book. Okay. One of the first questions I ask them is, kind of give me, what is just gnawing away at you, keeping you awake at night? What's the book about? They go, oh, I don't know that. I just know I want to write a book. And I go, I'm probably not the guy for you because I want to work with the person who says, this thing will not let me go. Okay. Then I can build the book asset. You can build the cornerstone speaking asset, perhaps. But if somebody looks at you and says, I don't really care one way or the other, I've just always wanted a cornerstone asset, not that it'll come out quite that way, but you get the drift of my response here. Uh, to me, that's not the client I want to work with. I just don't think it works that way. Certainly not. I can't speak of other products, but it doesn't work that way on stage. And you said it yourself. You can see when somebody has passion for what they're talking about. Be it spiritual. You are quite the spiritual person here. Okay. It could just be, or something else, but I need to see that passion in the audience. And
Sure.
if you want to survive as a speaker, you need to deliver it to that audience, and you better care about what you're doing, because I don't think you can just practice it. It's
Right.
deep.
And another piece with that is, sharing, I always like to, because a couple of things, if I can go into a speaking engagement or a podcast, whether it's virtual, in person, whatever that looks like, and I can show up knowing that I want to serve this individual, right? I'm going to, because there are different levels of service, right? And so I can serve my creator, I can serve others, I can serve myself, or I can serve things. And so those are really the tiers of it. But depending on who I'm serving, I'm going to show up differently for this podcast. I'm going to show up differently on stage. I'm going to show up differently when running a business. I got to get crystal clear on who I'm serving. But if I come with an intention like, hey guys, I know you guys have a problem. I'm here to serve you. These are the specific problems you're looking to serve. And I come with the intention to want to serve you, and you still don't like me, or it still doesn't resonate with you. I'm there for the hungry ones. And like you mentioned,
Yeah.
like I always tell people, I can't help an overweight personal trainer, because at the end of the day, you have to be an expert at what it is that you do. And being viral is, it's easier than ever, but also harder than ever because now you have so much more competition, so much visibility, so much things that are competing for people's attention. But there's also so much more connectivity, technology for people to access it now, right? So that push and pull. But at the end of the day, people have to get crystal clear on, you know, what they want to share and what part of their story, because if they turn it from a place of, I want to serve you, and also I come from a place of, hey, here's our things that I've learned along the way, and this is what I want to share with you, then it's like me sharing a story on a Friday night with my friends and my family. I don't have to think about the words to say. I'm just speaking what it actually is. And so that's another thing. Do you actually know your topic? Do you know your message? Or do you have to do more, clinical research on it, or more research on it? And that's why writing a book, developing a TEDx talk, creating a business, all these things, they push your brain to the max because you really need a bulletproof idea or a bulletproof concept. Like in business, what is your competitive advantage? What makes you different from the guy down the road that can
Yeah.
do it for the same exact service for a cheaper price? Why would someone go with you versus them? You need to be able to answer that as a business. Same thing with a presentation, and also a book. You know, what makes your book so special? Why should people listen to it? And again, I need to draw that back to becoming a solution for people's problems. And that's
Yeah.
what we.
Tyler, that's the same with a publisher. Do you have any books out yourself? You've got a couple. I saw them. Yeah. Are they conventionally published?
Well, the first book was a multi-author, so I was like an author of like 20
Okay.
different. And then I'm actually finalizing the publishing of this book coming up. So,
Oh,
by
okay.
when this podcast airs, it should be live, and the goals are rolled out in this next month about the life of purpose. It's called the life of purpose, and
Okay.
again, it goes back to everything that we're talking about here. The more I can understand the foundation of what I'm building, my messages, my branding, my speaking, all this stuff on, everything's gonna be a lot more clearer. It's gonna be a lot more simpler. Like I was never the smartest guy in the room. I just wanted everything to be simple. So it's like, what's the simplest thing that I can talk about that I actually have personal experience that I'm passionate on? And then the last thing, it brings you peace. You have peace of mind. Because
Right.
I was there too, man. I sold the life insurance. I sold the health insurance. Everything on paper looked great. Reoccurring revenue. You can make a lot of money, have flexibility with your schedule. I didn't have peace of mind. In
Right.
fact, it was eating my soul. It was soul sucking work, to be honest. And again, is that a non-negotiable? What am I willing to sacrifice in any area of my life to pursue something?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I gotta, see God first, and then everything else shall be added on to me. And so that's really the approach that I've taken, so I can also have peace of mind. And that's, in my opinion, is true wealth. And when you can share with peace, passion, prosperity, purpose, clarity, you're gonna stand out. And we all can do that in our own way with our own story, serving the people that we need to serve.
Okay. All right. Let's get into some nitty gritty here for a second. Let's
Sure.
just assume for a second, and all I want to do is talk about a TED Talk again. I got passion, I got purpose, I got three other P's that you threw out there. I'm all over it. Okay. And I think I did a pretty good TED Talk. But how, you know, are there specific mechanisms besides wanting it and having passion that knock this thing to 5 million views? I mean, that's some serious numbers there.
Sure. Yeah. So the foundation of any great marketing strategy is going to be the piece of content itself, right? So that's why I put a huge emphasis on what's your purpose, what's your message, what problem does it solve? Because some people get very specific on a TEDx talk, and there's places for different pieces of content, but for a TEDx talk, you don't want it to be discriminatory at all. You want it to reach people of all ages, of all different backgrounds. Can this help people in college? Can this help people in the household? Can this help people professionally? Entrepreneurs that have 20, 30 years of experience, like, is this a message that is so simple, but yet so innovative that can provide a new perspective that can create better leaders in the household, within organizations, and then within leaders within the community collectively? Because if that's the case, that's the foundation to build a successful talk. If someone's like, "Hey, I already gave my talk, I may pigeonhole a little," okay, well then we're moving on to the next stage, which is the strategies and the different techniques. Well, with YouTube, they look at a couple different things. They look at watch time. The people that click on your video, how long are they watching your talk? And that's why if you look at a lot of these TEDx talks now, they go from 8 to 12 minutes now, where before it was 18 minutes or less, and that's still the concept. But my talk was only 10 minutes long. So if someone watches 2 minutes of that video, that's 20% of the video, which is relatively high. If I'm at 30, 40% consistently, like 30, 40% of the video, that's going to depend on how much time frame this is different with short form videos, but any long form videos, it's usually 30 to 40% watch time. That's pretty good. And then also, what's the click through rate? How many people are clicking on it? And so this goes back to your title. And so what SEO, there's this really good website I like. It's called Answer the Public. It's by, I think it's Neil Patel, or he's like an investor in it. You can get a free version, or you can do one that's like $9 a month. But essentially, you can type in any keyword, and it's going to give you the SEO keyword research on it. And it's going to give you what are the top ranked terms, search for it. Like if I type in how to find your life's purpose, it's going to show me how many people Google that, how many people type that in, or hashtag that on social media. What are the most common terminologies around finding your life's purpose used in AI and ChatGPT right now? It's going to give me all the top ranked keywords. Well, what we did was how to find your life's purpose in 3 powerful questions was the talk. And so literally the keyword was the first 4 words of of my TEDx talk. So if I can keyword it, because I think at the time when I launched it, it was 27,000 people were searching how to find your life's purpose. And so that's what I went with. It was a unique title. No one used it. Another guy said how to find your life's purpose in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, which was a very good talk as well. So I can also base my title, my structure off other high performing talks that are out there. Because I think there are a few other talks on purpose that are on 5, 6, 7 million views. And so figuring out how is yours different, what gaps does it serve? But once all that's in place, I've optimized my title. I've optimized the description. I'm looking at the keywords. I have an engaging presentation of high watch times, high click through rate. What starts to happen with YouTube, it starts to recommend your video onto people on the platform. Another thing to layer into that, so you have click through rate, you have watch time. The last thing is diversity of traffic. So how many people clicked on this video from YouTube? How many people clicked on this video from social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever? How many people clicked on this from a specific email? How many people opened this from a text message or for a direct message off one of the social media platforms? if I'm getting a lot of variety in my traffic as well, where people are clicking on it through Google, people are finding it on YouTube, people are, you know, going to it from my email, I'm sending them a text message and they're clicking it, and maybe they're even Googling, Tyler Cerny TEDx talk. Like all these things are then contributing to YouTube, which is ultimately owned by Google, to then have them recommended. And the last thing I'll say with this too is this strategy is implemented right now. I don't know how much you follow Mr. Beast, Rob, but he's really went all in on the game show host, which is a huge giveaway. Sign up for the show for a giveaway of $5 million. That's what he's doing with the Beast games right now on Amazon Prime. It's a huge thing, right? Well, why is he able to give away $5 million? Like I even saw an episode, he gave away $1 million island to the one guy, and they brought in the guy from Survivor, and they said, he's like, you really just gave away more money than we do all
Right.
season,
Right.
like in this one episode. And then, Fear Factor, people are eating all this crazy stuff to win $200,000. But Mr. Beast is giving away millions of dollars. And even if you show up, here's 1,000, 10,000, it's like, how is he making all this money? Well, it's sponsorship, right? It's like he has captivated this huge audience, and he has brought in, now he has an audience, and it's just like a Super Bowl commercial. Why would someone pay $10 million for a 30-second commercial for Super Bowl? Because of the exposure of the audience. So same thing with Mr. Beast. He's built out these videos for over 15 years, just like TEDx has, where they have built out this portfolio of videos for over 40 years. They just had their 40th anniversary. TED did in 2024, and so now their audience is continuing to expand. It's going to continue to grow. So it's like speaking on podcasts, speaking on different platforms. Is there an audience built in? Because if so, and you have a message that resonates with people and solves a specific problem, people are going to want to watch it because everyone has problems and people spend a lot of time. I don't know what your phone time activity is. Sometimes it's longer than it should be for me, where it's like people are always on their phone. And even if I go out in public to go somewhere, it's awkward to even stand in a grocery line without, thinking about your phone or reaching for your phone. That's just the society we live in. And so we really need to get on the side of creating. And, when you create, there's going to be certain things that you absolutely love that the audience doesn't like,
Yeah.
and there's going to be certain things that you create. And you're like, man, I know people are going to love this. Or you're like, oh, or you're like, you know what? It's not that great. And then people love it because it's provocative or because you said God or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's also creating enough content and being authentically aligned and passionate about who you are. Because if you can do that, solve a specific problem, have things that support it, and then have a lot of diverse ways to have people just click on it and watch it, YouTube then going to recommend it. And that's what Mr. Beast does so well because he did this campaign. It was 27 Teslas for his 27th birthday. Well, what happens with that? For you to enter, you have to like, comment, and share it with 2 or 3 friends. So he'll run a bunch of paid ads to it as well. So a lot of people will engage with it. But then after a while, he doesn't have to run paid ads on it because people are already sharing it and clicking it. So eventually, too, if you could overload and run and add paid ads, that's just gasoline on the fire. If you have a large budget for your marketing to then contribute people even outside of your network as well, that's going to allow you to reach more people, have more diversity of traffic, have high click-through rate, have high watch time. And that's what YouTube looks like for videos to go viral with
Yeah.
with however that looks like for you.
Yeah. Is all this going in your book?
Yes,
'Cause you got a
yes, it's
lot of
all
information in there, brother.
it's all in there. The life of purpose, and so
Okay.
it'll be coming out. It'll be on my website. People can pre-order it right now if they
It's
want to.
that's what I was going to ask. Is there a cover on Amazon? Can you pre-order?
Yeah, you can go to tylersony.com and get a copy of the book. And so, yeah, the
Spell
goal
that
is
name, Tyler, because doesn't there's not an S in there. Go
sure.
ahead.
Yeah, so it's TYLERCERNY.com.
Right.
And we'll have the link down below too. So,
Perfect. We'll have it on our site as well.
sure.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'm really asking this one as carefully as I can. But you made a point that said, you really have to be careful of um, minorities and generations and things like this. I'm not sure if I'm the first guy who ever told you this, but you're a pretty spiritual guy, okay? Is that something that you had to be aware of, or are you just true to yourself when you do a TED talk and you really bring God into it? Some people are going to say, thank goodness, and others may not click through. I mean, you're now
Right.
taking a stand. Were you
Right.
careful about that, or did you just stick with your heart?
Well, when people watch my TEDx talk, I mentioned the creator. And so there are
Okay.
certain platforms that you can say certain things, and TEDx is a platform that is supposed to not discriminate. Really, their main guidelines are there's no personal promotion, political promotion, or religious promotion. So essentially, if I'm not a client to your business, part of your political party, and part of your religion, can I still get value from your talk? And if the answer is yes, you're in the clear. And so anyone that has a relationship or gets to understand with me, and this is kind of the layers of having an interesting brand as well, right? Because you kind of, it's like when you meet someone and have a relationship, you like, if you get to a point where you know everything about someone, it's like, all right, I know that done type of thing. Where it's like, no, I want to get to know the brand. I want to continue to, peel back layers and, TEDx is your top of funnel asset. These are people that don't know who you are. What's a message that can reach them, meet people with where they're at, and it can bring an immediate win to them in the short term? Because if the answer is, if you can do that in a 10-minute talk, that's the, because keep in mind, TEDx is 10 to 15 minutes. You can only deliver so much impact with any piece of content really online. But from there, once people go to my website or once people go on my social media and actually look at I'm more explicit and specific about talking about God.
Got
So,
it.
as people get to know me more and resonate with me more, I start to build a brand, and I also start to attract a certain type of individual. And typically the individual that I specifically attract is that I'm a very direct personality, right? Like I'm an athlete. So I work with a lot of athletes and a lot of former military. They're very direct. They've been in very hostile environments with people screaming in their face, and they got to keep. And it's like, I'm not going to scream at you. I'm just going to be direct with you. If you can be direct with it, and I do it out of a place of love because I want all of us to get better. And you know, we factor in faith. We value family, faith, vision. Again, you can be very spiritual, faithful, and love your family and be in China and be a Buddhist, and I'd still love you. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things. It's what are those core values? Faith, family, business, excellence. And again, these are all principles of the kingdom. But really, having a moving with a level of excellence in everything that you do, right?
Yeah.
With your brand, your presentation, it's just like being artfully designing what does excellence look like to you. And we all can be, there's a science to it, and then there's the art to it. The science is all those strategies, having high KPIs, click through rates, watch times, all that, the science, the numbers. But then the art, how can we really connect with people? What are people connecting with? Looking at videos that, why are why does someone watch this video 10 million times? Like what exactly, like actually break down the science behind that of like, why did someone click on this video 10 million times and watch this cat, jump through this, jump off of a building, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And so breaking that down and understanding human psychology, that's really going to help you too of understanding and people want real people. They want to be loved, and they want to. People want to feel love, and they want to express love.
Yeah, no, Tyler, you gave me your answer. I got to tell you, I feel like I could ask you which color do you like, blue or red, and take you 10 minutes to tell me.
Now,
But
I get
yeah,
passionate,
you're a
man.
guy.
I,
Yeah,
I
you,
get
you
passionate, and I like to
I
give
hear you.
values.
I want to tell you what I took from the answer. You tell me if I got it right. When you're doing a TED talk, you got to stay a little bit more Teflon, right? But when you draw people to who you are, you're allowed to be who you are in its entirety. But I'm
Yeah,
just thinking if somebody's listening, they have to kind of straddle that line a little bit of, okay, maybe a creator here or there, but message, and then as people begin to discover who you are, they go
Yeah,
deeper.
because if you do think about it though, if you do give a TEDx talk and you don't have a website, you're not active on social media, you have no brand presence whatsoever outside of that, it's going to be pretty hard to kind of scale and grow that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where TEDx, like I mentioned, it's 10 or 15 minutes. It's like there are different levels of the TEDx, and I'll share this with the audience too. It's just like I can provide a new perspective. That's level one. Number two, I provide a new perspective that elicits a behavior change. And number three is I provide a new perspective that elicits a behavior changes for regions of people, and now I've created a movement. That's essentially the highest level of a 10 or 15-minute TEDx talk. But, you know, we are all complex beings. We have so much richness and experience, and every single one of us that a 10 or 15-minute talk's not going to define who you are, what it is that you do. It's just the tip of the iceberg to be your top of funnel asset for people outside of your network to really understand who you are, what your story is, what's the main problem or main value. You can really talk about one of those. What's the main problem or value that is important to you that you can share in 10 to 15 minutes so that regardless of who watches it, what religion, what political party, they can adopt this value, they can adopt this solution in their life, and they can start to solve problems for themselves and people around them. And if you can do that and you can apply that personally and professionally and collectively, then it's going to be pretty hard for me to say no to you as a TEDx event organizer. And it's also going to be pretty hard for me to not notice your message and not want to share it with someone else.
Yeah. You also, I like to highlight some of the key points you're making. You made a really good point, which is, and it's the same with authors. That's my area that I feel comfortable with. I'm not a TEDx talk. I might do one this next year. I don't know. But
We'll get you on there, Rob.
yeah, point being that you better be passionate about it. You better, and a point I want to make was when you write a book, you want that book to be a success, you can't then decide, well, I wrote the book, now let's see about a website. Let's see about all the other mechanisms. That infrastructure needs to be there. It's almost like building a stadium. You better have the roads to the stadium, everything set, or no one's going into that stadium, you know?
Right.
And that's what I'm pulling from you. Listen, you said it all, as they say. I really made some great points about the TEDx talks, and I appreciate you letting me kind of poke around and kind of look at how you marry the spiritual side to you to an industry that's a little, gray in that area. So,
Sure.
and I think you did a nice job there. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'll have those links below. And also you can go directly to tylercerny.com and reach out to me there.
Yeah, and you'll see him. I saw different stuff. So I did see you on Amazon. And grab that book, folks. Get in there. I know it's not coming out yet, but Amazon takes those pre-orders seriously. So you won't be able to write them a review yet, but you will be able to go ahead and get in line and get that pre-order. So let's do that. I like doing that for all my authors that are coming in here. That's your first book, Tyler?
Yeah, my first individual
Yeah. Got the other one. That one doesn't count. This is got you. This is you.
Yeah. This one is going to showcase really my TEDx talk extended, and
Perfect.
and it's really, if people love the TEDx talk, that's like a little taste of it. Where goes more in depth and allows me to kind of expand on the message because, like I said, 10 minutes can only do so much. Where this is really a playbook where anyone that's looking to find their purpose, they can go to it. And if you look at purpose, I'll close with this, Rob, is that purpose, the core root of purpose is an intention set forth before. So it's like, again, when you're building that book, building that business, at what scale are we looking to do it at? And your life, there was a purpose before you even made. Our job is just to find it. And so
good.
The book will definitely help people do that.
That's a good way to stick your landing. Tyler, it's been a pleasure meeting you. A pleasure sitting back and listening to you. Normally I get to talk more, but not when Tyler's on the show. With Tyler, you grab yourself some tea, you hang in there. You get in every now and then. Been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. I wish you nothing but success. Some really valuable points that you shared, not just about TEDx, but really who you are as an individual. And you're quite an impressive man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate you, Rob. Thank you.
You bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please follow, rate, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. For more resources and to connect with Rob, visit thepresentationwhisperer.com.